Damn. Damn, that is fucking solid, guys. And I've intentionally got my hand covering up this thing because, well, A, it's amazing, but I thought I'd save the surprise. This is another DNA40. Not that I haven't reviewed a few others, but this one is quite amazing, and it's got an amazing price point. So we'll start the review off with what it is. It is the BAP Dna40. Okay, so I saw this thing online about 3 months ago, right when the Dna40 dropped, and I thought to myself, either this thing is going to be really good or really bad. And to me, you know, I could see some people hating it and coming up with all kinds of reasons why not to like it, and why they should like the Vapor Flask better, or why they should like the Dna40 better, because let's be honest, there's lots of Dna40s out there to choose from now, which is awesome. But as far as price point goes, this is the cheapest dual battery Dna40 I have found to date. It's got two 18650s. However, this one has a couple things that are amazing about it and a couple minor inconveniences. But so far, I am really impressed with this thing, guys. I mean, I can't put the freaking thing down, to be honest. I'm using a sub-tank, running it with Ni200, got a single coil, 12 wraps around a 3mm. It is coming out to 510 degrees, a 0.14 build at 21.5 watts. I am chain vaping a probably close to 90% VG juice. I'm not sure. It's either 80 to 93 is my guess. Probably closer to 90. And I'm running it in any air hole perfectly. It's never hitting temp protection, which is honestly more than I can say about the Vapor Shark. It will hit temp protection sometimes. And even the flask, I have a couple flasks. My black one, pretty much on par with my gunmetal as far as performance. But so far, these are the two best Dna40 mods I've found to date. Which one is for you? Well, that's for you to decide. The flask, to me, is a lot classier. But back to the BAP. The BAP is made out of 3D printed box, and it's covered in, I believe, Cerakote, which is used on firearms and space shuttles or stuff like that to help strengthen the box. It's very lightweight, and it's very, very comfortable in the hand. I kind of wish the button was right there, because it would be just as comfortable in the hand as the flask. It's actually a little narrower than the flask, so this, you know, it's very comfortable. This, if I was to hold it like this, would be incredibly comfortable. Either equal to or better than the flask for comfort, but it's not. The button is right here. And that's really one of two complaints I can really nitpick the shit out of this box for. You know, so you end up kind of either holding it like a remote controller for your TV, holding it flat in your hand like this, and just thumbing it. Or you could switch it around and use your index finger to fire it like this. I've been doing it both ways. Both ways is incredibly comfortable. But, man, I've had this thing for 3.5 days, and I still got a good bit of battery life left. Really impressed with this. I'm not even sure what batteries are in here. I haven't even opened the back. The reason why I haven't opened it is it's got little torque screws, which brings me to my second slightly con. So it's not going to be as easy to just pull the batteries out. You're going to pretty much be using the charging port 90% of the time out of convenience. You could pull it out and throw them on a charger like I do with my flask or my Vapor Shark. I rarely use the micro USBs on these guys. I just pull out the batteries on this. I just swap batteries in this, and so far this is the only Dna40 I haven't been swapping batteries with, and that's because of the torque screws. So, you know, I've got the titanium blue version of this, and, you know, in the light I'm in now, it kind of looks grayish because of the yellow light I've got on me. But really, it's more of like a turquoise-ish teal color. But it is an amazing product. I'm not hitting temp protection in any of my tanks. I'm not hitting temp protection prematurely on my drippers, which is more than I could say for some of the other Dna40s out at the moment. This thing has been pretty much trouble-free, and I've been loving it every step of the way. With that being said, it is $225 to buy one of these. And I'm not exactly sure if they come with batteries or not. I've been trying to figure that out. I don't believe so. But mine did. I got mine. I purchased it locally. A guy walked into the shop with it, and after playing with it, I was convinced I had to have one. I love the buttons on these things. They're not super clicky, but they're nice. They remind me of like a 8-bit Nintendo button, the way it feels at least. It's got the perfect amount of give to know when you're firing it. It's not noisy, so it's not like a constant click. So if I'm in bed with my girlfriend and she's sleeping and I don't want to wake her up, this is perfect for that. Not that the flask isn't, but all these DNA40s, they all perform a touch differently from model to model. All three of these hit differently at the same temperature and the same wattage with the same dripper. And that's just how it is. That's just the way it is. You could ask, well, it's the same chip. Why is it doing that? Well, the reason why it's doing that is because differences between one battery and two battery models, the materials used, the positive connections and negative connections, the 510, all that stuff affects the way a DNA40 works and operates. And it's kind of cool. I kind of like that about it. Some people would say, it's inconsistent. It should be the same from device to device. But it's not. And I hate to say it, but it's not. It's just not that way. All three of the mods I mentioned, Vapor Shark, Vapor Flask, and the BAP, they're all amazing. They're all great products. There's nothing wrong with any of them. So I'm not saying choose one over the other, but they all hit slightly differently. For example, I like my drippers at 510 to 520 on the flask. On this guy, I'm cool that being down as low as 480. I would say 480 vapes about the same as 500 on the flask. But then you compare these two and it's way different. 450 on this gets you about 490 on this. And I don't know why it's so off. I expected it to be closer, but they vape differently. And I definitely prefer different atomizers on different devices. But that being said, the sub-tank performs best out of all the mods with DNA40s on the BAP by a good bit. I will occasionally run into temp protection prematurely on the flask with the sub-tank. I don't get that with this. Meaning, when I've got juice in my tank and I'm hitting it, it's hitting temp protection. And that could mean two things. Either your cotton is dry or your wick is not being efficient enough to where the juice feeds fast enough and you're getting dry hits. Well, I haven't gotten a single dry hit with this on the flask or the BAP or the Vapor Shark. However, I have had the old temp protection message hit a few times with the sub-tank on the flask and even fewer times on the Vapor Shark, but not once has the BAP hit it. So I think, as far as like my favorite DNA40 devices go, I'm probably still suck on the flask for the King's Throne. But as far as performance, man, this thing's it's just as good. It's up there with the flask. It's not as classy looking. It's not as classy feeling. But that being said, man, I can't put this freaking thing down. It's an amazing device. It's sexy. It's sleek. It looks a lot better in person than it did in the videos I saw online. And it's I believe it's got a Keystone sled inside of it, which is similar to what they're using with the other devices. There's the top. It is spring loaded. You do have an airflow channel there for your bottom feeding tanks and whatnot. It is incredibly lightweight. Side by side with the Vapor Shark, it is considerably lighter weight than the Vapor Shark is, and yet it's much bigger than the Vapor Shark. But that being said, it's still a great device. I mean, look at these guys side by side. Hardly any difference in height. The width is actually narrower on the BAP as far as width goes this way. Width this way, however, obviously is shorter, but they've got to cram 2 batteries, a chip, and all the buttons on this one. So, this color I believe would cost you $235. The standard BAP colors are $225 plus shipping. The alternate colors add $10, and I think if you get a camo or splatter paint option, it it gets even more expensive. But for what these things are, man, they're an amazing value. I've been really impressed with this. This, to me, smokes any Hannah mods. Honestly, it's smoking the Vapor Shark for how long I've had it. I haven't had it terribly long, but I'm really familiar with DNA40s. I'm definitely somewhat of a DNA40 fanboy. I'm not a huge cloud chaser. I'm all about the flavor. I'm all about quality of vape. So if you're a cloud chaser, take this review with a grain of salt. This device may not be for you. But, however, I have recently converted a lot of true cloud chasers into being flavor chasers. It's another style of vaping, guys. DNA40s versus cloud chasing. Some of you will love it. Some of you will hate it. I thought I was a cloud chaser till I started getting into stuff like this about 4 months ago. And ever since I've gotten a DNA40, I have had a hard time going back to Canthal. In fact, I haven't even tested this device out with Canthal. I have only been running nickel the whole time I've had it. So keep that into consideration for this review. The build quality on this thing is pretty damn good. I mean, some could argue that, yeah, it's in a cheap plastic container. I wouldn't say it's cheap, especially with the coating process he used. But let me ask you this. Say you had a Vapor Shark RDNA40, which has a screen on the bottom. Say you're not the type of guy who wants a shark skin on there, which is the silicone sleeve that Vapor Shark recommends you get to protect your device. Say you don't have that. Say you have one and you don't like it and you don't want to use it. So durability-wise, what do you think is going to last more if this falls down face first on the concrete? The screen cracking or this box possibly being cracked? Honestly, I'd put money on the BAP being more durable as far as dropping it goes. Also, this finish is incredibly tough. It doesn't chip and scratch. I've actually tried to scratch it with my fingernail, whereas the Vapor Shark, all it takes is a thumbnail running down the side and it leaves a mark on there. At least it does on mine. I've had a shark skin on mine the whole time, so it looks pretty much brand new because I babied the shit out of all my stuff. My flask, same thing, looks brand new. But I actually wanted to test the product on this, so I just simply, like I'm doing now, dug my fingernail into the back, and I'm digging it pretty thoroughly. It's a pretty durable box. I mean, I gotta say, there's no fingernail marks, there's no scratches. If I would have done that to the Vapor Shark, you would have had scratches everywhere. So I'm not really worried about this breaking on me. The case, I feel that his coating process has made it pretty damn durable. The maker of this, Brady Apgood, seems like a really good dude. Seems like he's really got his head on straight and figured these DNA40s out. He doesn't seem to have the screen freeze and the battery meter issue problems that Vapor Flask and Vapor Shark are being plagued with right now. So, if you're worried about getting a bad chip or something like that, I think your best bet for probability, at the time being at least, right now, this month, BAP is a really solid choice. I mean, I love these fucking buttons. I love the way it looks. I love the way it feels in my hands. And every time I show it to somebody, they're like, whoa, what the hell is that? Because they haven't seen one before, and they hold it, and they just kind of go, wow, that's pretty badass. And I got to admit, I'm pretty impressed with this. A lot more impressed than I was with the pictures online, because I thought, kind of looked cheap online. It doesn't look cheap at all. It kind of reminds me of a garage door opener in a way. Like the housing, but all in all, man, I give it 2 thumbs up, man. Oh, I locked it. New coil down. Let's go. And so far, I'm planning to get a second one. And no, I didn't take payment for this goddamn thing. Jesus Christ. I feel bad for Rip. I really do. Because I've actually sent Rip product before to review. He never asked for a single cent. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But poor Rip, that's all I gotta say. And shame on you, Twisted. Shame on you, bro. For blindly following Kurt Loblick into battle when you don't even know if it's truth or bullshit. But as far as this box goes, I give it 2 thumbs up. I'd say build quality is, at least on the guts, from the pictures I've looked at online, the guts look on par with Flask. I'd put this slightly above Vapor Shark, and either the same functionality quality as the Vapor Flask, but I still prefer the device itself, the housing, the material of the flask more than this. This is still slightly more comfortable, but man, the BAP ain't no joke, man. I'm really enjoying it, and I think 90% of the people who bought one will enjoy it and will have no problems with it. Has a micro USB charging port on the bottom. Like I said, it uses torque screws. That's one of my main complaints, and the other complaint is the fact that it's going to be hard to swap out the batteries. But other than that, I love the buttons. I love the screen placement, and I love the shape and look of it. So, pretty damn cool device here, guys. Pretty damn cool. Get one if you're in the market. If you're not in the market and you're a cloud chaser, hey, don't get one, because these things are not, none of these DNA40 devices are truly for the cloud chasers. They're for the people who want good quality of vape, a consistent vape, a healthier vape. And you might say, well, why is it healthier? Well, it limits your temperature. I never go above the temperature set. You know, so formaldehyde, it's probably being produced with these 100-watt builds with 22 gauge. The wire just gets so hot that inevitably trace amounts of formaldehyde get produced. It's still only maybe a 20th the amount of a formaldehyde of an actual cigarette, and we were fine with those for years and years, but that's what a DNA40 is for, guys. It's to prevent formaldehyde from being produced, it's to prevent dry hits, and it's to give you a more flavorful, satisfying vape. There's no warm-up time with this wire. You hit the button, it's warm instantly. And I love that about it. Like, I went back to Canthal last night, and I realized how awesome nickel was after messing with it a bit. And you know, nickel, once it gets warmed up, it does have excellent flavor, and that's what everyone mostly uses. But these DNA40s, man, they're just the way to vape, in my opinion, and I love them. And it doesn't mean you have to love them, but with that being said, check them out if you get a chance. They're pretty damn sweet for the money. I mean, $225, that's $75 cheaper than a flask, which also has 2 batteries. The Vapor Shark has 1 battery. It's $190. So it's not that much more expensive than a Vapor Shark, but honestly, I like it a good bit more, at least from how long I've had this device. So far, so good. And no screen freeze, no battery meter issue, and that right there is amazing in my book, to be able to get a DNA40 like that. But thanks for watching, guys. Check you out next time. Peace in the Middle East.